yeah, the first month we generated $43,000 in revenue for that one listing.
That's
in
crazy.
his first month.
In his first month.
With no prior experience and no money down.
Now, yeah, and it sounds amazing. It is amazing. I don't want to get the impression
No. It is amazing. Let's not sell yourself short.
So year to date, I have had a little over $30,000 in income since mid-February. Just to give a little perspective on that, this property, the payment I have is under $900 a month, and it would probably rent for about $1,500 a month. This is just a standard rental. And looking back, I can see in May, I made $6,000. In June, I made $8,500. In July is going to be $12,000. You know, it's just multiples of what I could make as a regular rental, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm calculating on a 5.5 month total timeline right now, an average of about $5,454 monthly revenue, which is quite good for a $900 to $1,500 rental. Do you work a day job too, or did you just get dressed up for us?
This is for you. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm actually a real estate agent.
Okay.
And, and I've been involved in rentals, and I always saw, short-term rentals as like, man, that would just be so much work. And so that was always why I didn't really get into it. And then when I saw you interview them, I was like, well, they must have some good systems to be able to manage that many properties, and they do.
So one of the fears you had coming in was this is going to be a real challenge to work alongside your day job. It was just, you were concerned about the effort you'd have to put in. How much effort has it required from you?
Well, it's been really, the effort is kind of like getting it started, and then you just kind of keep it going, but it's been very minimal. I was telling my wife, I've had people stay there for a week and I never even hear from them. Everything's automated. Here and there, you just have to respond to a couple of things, and eventually that can be outsourced. We would go stay at an Airbnb, and some lady that lived on the property would bring us cookies, and I'm like, man, I can't be doing that.
Are you not a baker?
No, not a baker. No.
Let me dive into some of the coaching aspects of it. So obviously everyone that's going to be laying out this type of capital, obviously for coaching, and you're going to pay to, get any business off the ground, and obviously have support from folks. What did it look like for you out of the gate with Michael and Katrina? Obviously they're first class, but I've not gone through the program. So what were the kind of the initial onboarding steps? What does that look like on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis?
Well, it started with, if I remember right, and you guys help me remember Michael and Katrina, but it started with like an onboarding call, and they had me fill out some information about kind of where are you at, right now financially, what are your goals, what's your long-term, short-term goals, things like that. And to be honest with you, I've been in a lot of like real estate coaching over the years, and I run a real estate team, and I had a bunch of properties already that I was like, okay, I want to get this one on the market, this one and this one. So I was kind of like, let's talk about goals, but then let's go ahead and get started right now. Mm-hmm. And so they just kind of said, okay, that's fine. We could do that. And so it was really good. They gave me some good action steps. Every time I've had a little speed bump and reached out to them for help, they've been really good about responding to that, and got me up and going really, really quick.
Yeah, and we often talk about support here on the channel, obviously. So, has it met or exceeded or underwhelmed you, as far as their contact rate when getting back in touch with you? If you've got, kind of that touchy subject right now that you need help, you're in the weeds, what does that look like? Are you satisfied so far?
Yeah, I am. And I also feel like, I don't feel like they have to respond to everything right away, because if they were, I would almost be like, they're not living the life that they should be living, if they're always like on the clock all the time. But every time I've had an issue, like just the other day, I was like, hey guys, the air conditioner went out. I need to shut this down for 2 days. Which app do I use? Because there's 3 apps, and if you change one and not the others, they overlap each other. And they got back to me within like 2 minutes. Oh, here's that. So it was just like a quick answer they gave me right in time. And And then other things, we might schedule a call or something like that. But yeah, I've been satisfied. I mean, it's met my expectations. I feel like it's totally worth the investment because, as you can see, I mean, 5 months, I've already more than doubled what I paid for their class, and made the money back that I put in to getting the place ready and everything. So that's a great investment in my book.
So yeah, I mean, my biggest question is, there's always this dilemma when you're trying to get started in any kind of a business. Is it worth it to spend the money to have somebody there to help you, or should I just go out there and DIY this thing? And I was cursed with the DIY DNA. I say that often. I wish I wasn't. My instinct is to jump in, figure things out, problem solve. And I encounter a lot of bumps and bruises because of that. I've managed to learn how to fight that urge, but it took a long time. And my fear is always that somebody gets on this channel, they think that this is a solicitation. We don't care that we don't have a dog in the race. You go out there and learn the hard way if you choose, if you want. But Michael Fox, you said something right at the top of this interview that you tend to work the other way, where you're just looking for the support. And I've grown into that, thankfully. So do you have any words of advice for somebody that's struggling with that choice?
Well, like I mentioned, this isn't my first time to hire somebody to teach me something. And every time in the past, it's been well worth it. I mean, my real estate team went from selling like 65 houses. We hired a different coach. We went to like 175 houses. It's just somebody has it all figured out. And this is so much more complicated, especially if you were doing it on your own. It's not that complicated when you have somebody that's like, okay, use this app for this, use this app for this, use this app for this. Here's what you say, copy and paste this template. And even like writing the descriptions on the Airbnb, I thought, well, I'm a realtor. I know how to write descriptions. They have a totally different, way better way to do it. It's like so much better. And, the Airbnb that I have is renting for so much more per night than anything. In fact, I've got a place like in the mountains with a mountain view that's managed by another company, and it doesn't get as much per night as my little house that's just like 30 minutes from the city and nowhere anybody's going to search. I want to visit that place. So to have somebody that just comes in with all the systems and how to manage it, how to get it rolling. I mean, I don't know. I could probably do it for 10 years and never get it going the way it's going after 5 months, just because I just took their system and used it,
Let's tell everybody how to get plugged in. If you've heard enough and you're like, look, this is for me. I want to get started with the hospitality business. Just shoot an email to BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. We'll throw it in the description as always to make it easy to find. Again, BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. Go ahead and put your first name, last name, and your phone number in that body of the email and put conversation in the subject line to let us know that you're interested.
So my first deal was really exciting because it's just like an amazing property. Here it's located in North Georgia mountains. And it's just kind of one of those properties you look at and you're like, wow, like that, I would love to stay there. And I so happened to kind of know the property owner. And I mentioned to you earlier that me and my wife, we have a wedding. Oh, my dog is. We have a wedding videography business, and she was interested at one time at like using her rental as like a wedding venue kind of thing. So we had talked about that in the past. So we had a little connection. So I knew she was on VRBO, but she wasn't on Airbnb. And I'm thinking, man, now learning what I learned about Airbnb, I'm like, how is she not on Airbnb? Like, what is she doing? So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, do you mind like if I try running your listing on Airbnb? And keep in mind that this house is, it's already completely furnished. It'd probably take like, you guys probably know better estimates than I do what it costs to furnish a place like that, but probably at least $50,000 to furnish.
Oh, well, the way they furnish it. Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah. No, like this is like a multi-million-dollar mountain lodge. Like it's not a standard property that most people start with their first one, but Nathaniel just decided to, go into the deep end of the pool right away. So
yeah. So I think where, Michael and Katrina really, I don't believe I would have sealed this deal without their help. I really don't believe that. The property owners they're both attorneys. So when I went to their house, they grilled me pretty hard, you know, and I didn't have a property to fall back on. I couldn't tell them like, yeah, I have this experience with this house, or like I've made a single sale or a single reservation on Airbnb I never had. But Michael and Katrina really helped prep me for that meeting. So we had a meeting. They said yes. After about a million questions later, you know, they grilled me pretty hard. But hey, we sealed the deal, and it's been pretty awesome ever since. They've been really happy.
What does that mean? How do the numbers look?
Well, just off that property alone, I wrote this down at some point, but just off that property alone, I believe it was the first month. Yeah, the first month we generated $43,000 in revenue for that one listing.
That's
in
crazy.
his first month.
In his first month.
With no prior experience and no money down.
Now, yeah, and it sounds amazing. It is amazing. I don't want to get the impression
No, it is amazing. Let's not sell yourself short.
Yeah.
I don't want to, people watching to think like I made that $43,000. You know, we have a partnership agreement, so I'm earning a percentage off of those bookings. But
what's your percentage?
So we have an agreement right now where I earn for the first 3 months. We're doing like a trial period with them, so they wanted to kind of test me out for the first 3 months. So like, okay, we'll give you 10% of the earnings the first 3 months, and if you do good, we'll bump you up to 15% after that. And then if we still like you after 6 months, then you can take over our VRBO listing as well. So that's kind of the goal, is to, I think they wanted to just, since I never had anything to show them prior, I think they just kind of wanted to try it out. But hey, I'm happy with 10% of $43,000.
Give me a ballpark of how much time you think it took to generate 10% of 43 grand?
That's a good question. So I think the initial setup and everything and trying to get this stuff figured out with the partnership, it definitely required some work, just because it's my first one, especially, and getting all the back end stuff set up for my other listings as well. It's so hard for me to like think about how much time actually took to set up that one property, because I'm doing like 3 at once, but I will say that the initial setup being the most amount of time, I think moving forward to manage this property, I would be surprised if it takes, a couple hours a week to manage.
40 hours or less on your first week with the learning curve, or first few weeks?
Yeah.
So 4,300 for that type of time commitment under typical standards would still be considered a relatively high rate of pay, it seems to me.
Yeah. And I'm not great. I'm not too worried really about the initial setup time it takes to do this stuff, because I see the long-term vision. It's kind of like this one-time setup stuff. And once you get the ball rolling, it's just like, all right, let's add more properties. But yeah.
I think it's a really important point. And yet, obviously, those who haven't broken through the entrepreneurial barrier yet, these shorter term levels of commitment and early investments end up being deal makers or breakers for some, whether they want to get into the model or not. So you had nothing out of pocket other than what you paid Michael and Katrina for their assistance, right? What would be that was on that one deal, that first deal, you didn't put anything into it? Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I put in was I hired like a really high-end photographer, editor to, mess around with some of the photos, but it was like $40.
Okay. Okay.
It was pretty significant
Yeah.
$40.
You had a lot on the line there, buddy. How much of the contribution that Michael and Katrina have made for you and your business and getting you that first deal or your second or third, how much of their coaching has played a role in how far you've come this quickly?
Oh man, it's been huge. I mean, like I said, that very first deal, I feel like a lot, like my success ever since that first deal has it's all been from that one, because if I didn't get that first one, I don't know if I would have gotten the second one or the third one. So it's been so huge. And not only that, it seems like they're doing things so much differently. The whole Airbnb rental arbitrage thing, I love the whole idea, but the way they're doing it is just another level, it's just like a next level up. And so to be around someone with that mentality and not only be around them, but to be coached by them is just, let's just say when I was questioning whether or not I should have hired them for my coaches, I I could go back in time, I would just, no hesitation.
Done it. Yeah, you would have done it sooner. So
Yeah.
they charge $12,000 for their coaching. I'm assuming that alone would have been worth it, but to discount it down to $8,000 for our audience, is there any reason that somebody should sit on the other side of this video and think to themselves, hey, this may not pay for itself?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly believe if you stick with it, especially long term, I mean, I know a lot of people, they get excited about something and then they just give it up in a month or whatever. But going into it, I knew I was in it for the long haul. And I think years down the road from now, that initial investment I made into Michael and Katrina will probably seem like a joke.
What do you anticipate pulling in this year?
That's a good question. I did get that number before our call. What the total amount of sales that that we've generated so far? So it's been a little bit less than 2 months, and it's been 83,000. So I'm hoping. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the year has in store. But hopefully that's a sign of that we're on.
Would you be disappointed if it was less than $250,000?
Well, I definitely want to be disappointed, but I would be surprised at this point, considering that within the first, month and a half that we're coming close to the 100,000 mark. So I'm hoping within 12 months, we'll far exceed that. That's the goal.
Well, good for you. Really, really cool stuff, man. Congrats. Thank you again. And, we'll be seeing you down the road. Okay.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Keep it up, buddy.
We're so proud of you, Nathaniel.
We appreciate it.
So proud of you, Nathaniel. Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome work, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.